Are you being spoken over in meetings? If you are, it could be that if you stop doing this one thing, that is going to stop or it's going to reduce dramatically. I want you to imagine you're watching a running race, right? The competitors, they're coming around the racetrack, they're running down that final straight. There's one runner who's completely out in front and you're like, yes, they've got this. Their arms are pumping, their legs are pumping, they're focused on the finish line. It's all going really, really well. And then 10 meters from that finish line, our competitor pulls up, starts walking, and just very slowly, very casually wanders over the finishing line as all the other competitors are just streaming past them. You'd be like, what are they doing? What's going on? Why did they stop running? And it wouldn't make any sense. There is a vocal equivalent to this, which you may or may not be aware of. What happens is that we start sentences with quite a buoyant energy. We begin quite lifted. So vocally, we're very strong. It's a loud enough volume that your audience can hear. And as we get towards the end of the sentence, we start to sort of trail off and the pace of the delivery slows a little bit. We might get some odd pauses and vocally the energy sort of dies and it sort of trickles away into a nothingness. If that is happening, and I exaggerated it a bit there, but you'd be amazed at how many people do this. They drop their vocal energy towards the ends of their sentences. What we're doing is we are training the people that are listening to us, those that we're in meetings with, those that we're presenting to, maybe even our team members. We're training them that we're not quite sure of ourselves or our ideas, and that they can dismiss our ideas when they want to. And we will drop our energy consistently. If this is something we do, it's like we do it regularly. So we do it regularly enough that we train them that they can just jump in before we get to the ends of the sentences. So we're training them that we're unsure. We're training them that they can dismiss our ideas, and we're training them that they can go before we finish speaking. Does that make sense to you? Do you recognize that? Now, the impact of that is it leaves us feeling incredibly frustrated, right? We're an expert in our field. We know our stuff. We're trying to contribute something of value in this meeting. And we end up feeling so frustrated that we've been interrupted and spoken over yet again. We can feel so unseen and unheard. And that is such a basic human requirement, to feel seen, to feel heard. And we can end up leaving these meetings, these sessions, feeling really resentful. God, why did they interrupt me again? Why are they listening to so-and-so and not listening to me? And there's a short-term impact of that, but then there's the longer-term impact. It impacts our perceived competence. So how good everybody else perceives us to be at our job. It's a relationship that exists between how well we speak and how well people think we do our job. There's no relationship, none whatsoever, except in their heads. And it really impacts on how we get promoted and how we get paid. Now, listen, this is a systemic issue. It's not you. It isn't your fault, right? Women get 33% less airtime than men doing meetings. And the more men there are in meetings and the fewer women, the worse that statistic gets. We are negatively interrupted. 7% of the time, you will be interrupted with that won't work. Yeah, we tried that before we've even finished explaining our idea. And then our ideas are repeated by someone else and generally taken up, right? It is a systemic issue. This happens all over the world. I have clients all over the world. They report exactly the same thing. It happens everywhere. It happens in lots of organizations. It requires a massive cultural change within organizations. So that requires the meeting leader to take charge of the culture within that meeting and say, no, interruptions of any kind will not be tolerated. That takes time. It's a slow change. Cultural change takes time. But you have control over what you do. You can't control everyone else, but you can control what you do. You can control your climate, and your climate can change as quickly as the weather. So what do you need to do? What can you do to reduce the chances of being spoken over and interrupted in meetings? Well, the first thing is thinking about your body language. So if our body language is smaller than it needs to be, we are not holding our space, then we are generally giving permission to our audience to say, that you haven't finished yet. If we're using our body really well, we're saying, I've not finished yet. I am still speaking. I'm holding my space. You need to keep listening. Often, if we've got vocal energy collapse towards the end of the sentence, we're going to have body energy collapse as well. So as we sort of trail off, we might get a little bit smaller. We might bring our hands together. Everything gets a bit smaller. We break eye contact, right? So I'm exaggerating there, but there will be a more subtle version of that happening. And your audience, very quick at picking up on that. And so they jump in. So we don't want to let our body collapse or our spine collapse. So we want nice long spine, very open chest. Now, the third part of body language that's really important here is eye contact. So it's making eye contact with those people around you, around that table, in that presentation, to say, I'm still going. You need to keep listening because I've still got stuff to say here. So we want to be making sure we're making really, really good eye contact. If we start to drop eye contact or we start to look at our notes too often, we're basically signaling that somebody else might be able to have a go. So we don't want to do that. We need to keep that vocal energy up all the way to the end of the sentence. So I want you to visualize crossing that line, not running, not sprinting to the end of that line, because that way you might speed up. And if we speed up, we give permission to the rest of the audience to say, okay, you can jump in. I'm embarrassed to be still taking up space here. You can dismiss my idea. Off you go. So you want that really nice, well-paced crossing of the line, but definitely a confident crossing of the line. And then the final thing we need to be thinking about is how you're breathing. Breath is the power to your voice. So if you've got enough breath, you're breathing deeply enough in your body, you can have a powerful, strong, confident voice. I don't mean shouting. I don't mean being overly energetic, but I do mean it's confident all the way to the end of the sentence. If you're breathing from your chest, chances are you won't be able to do that. You're going to run out of breath. And if you don't have enough breath in your voice will become breathy, or it's just going to lose volume towards the end because you're running out of breath. So we don't want either of those things. So we need to breathe deeply. Now, if your body is nice and strong and long, and you've got a nice long spine and you've got an open chest, breathing deeply is going to come much, much more easily to you. If your body is collapsing, you can't move your rib cage, you can't breathe deeply. It doubly impacts on the power of your voice to the end. So look, if this is happening to you, if you are being spoken over in meetings, like I said, it isn't your fault. It is a systemic problem. But you do have control over how you show up and the image you send out to those people that you are speaking to. So if you want to be interrupted less often, nice long spine, nice open chest, deep breathing, good eye contact, and think about vocally crossing the line with your ideas all the way to the end of the sentence. I hope that's been useful. Take care, and I'll speak to you really soon. Bye for now.